Hey, what's up? Hi, everyone. Facebook Live, how are you? What's up, YouTube? It is Serene coming to you once again from my Sweet Pea and Me. Happy Sunday and happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there, to my hubby out there, the Brickhouse Chef, Thomas. Happy Father's Day. Today, my topic is your home safe? And I actually would like to dedicate um, this broadcast to my husband, because together I think we work really hard to have a very safe house and or safe home for our kids. And I am going to get into what exactly am I referring to when I talk about is your home safe. Um, so as parents, I think that many parents, their goal is to keep their children as safe as possible from any dangers, from any harm that could come their way. And so that starts like from infant stage, from when, they are learning to crawl and getting around. We safe proof the house, and we, move things out the way that can cause them harm. And, because you don't want them to get hurt. And even as it relates to certain people that you have around, you keep certain elements away from your children because you don't want them to be in danger. But the safe that I'm talking about today is actually emotional, right? So early childhood, one of the things that's a really big focus in the early childhood field is the social and emotional aspect of children's development. And so I can't talk about safety without talking about, the safety when it comes to security and emotional security, and being, having a home that is secure for those different types of emotions that children go through. And I am going to get into why I actually came up with this topic this weekend, that'll come a little later. Now, when we talk about emotion in the early childhood field, so sometimes, like for my early childhood educators out there, some classrooms have, what do they call it? Oasis, like an oasis space, or a quiet space, or like a nook or area that the children can retreat to when they're feeling whatever way they're feeling. And sometimes in those areas, the teachers have put up things like pictures on the wall of the children's different emotions that they can feel. And so, yes, you have your happy and your sad and your angry, but there are much more emotions than that, right? And I used to tell my teachers when I was in the position of being a director, your space that you create for children to go to when they're feeling a range of emotions must have emotions like, tired, feeling lazy, feeling overwhelmed, feeling confused, right? These are different emotions that we have. And sometimes as parents, we don't even think about our children having those kinds of emotions, because the impression, sometimes I've had this happen even for me as a child. Like I remember adults saying, what do you have to be worried about? What do you have to be, overwhelmed about? You haven't lived life. Well, that is definitely not considering the fact that at every stage and every age of our lives, there are different things that can overwhelm us, that can confuse us, that can get us frustrated. And so children are not exempt from that. Even at 2 years old, just the idea of like losing a toy, or mom and dad coming back when they drop me off, those are things that kids get worried about. In the same way that we get worried or feel overwhelmed about something, they get it too. It's just not the same causes, right? So when I talk about having a safe home, I'm referring to, is it safe for your child to feel those emotions, those range of emotions that children go through? So happy, that tends to be an easy one, right? And even some homes don't foster a sense of it's okay to be happy as well, right? So depending on what we're going through as parents, sometimes your child's happiness can get on your last nerves, and you actually, misery loves company. So if you're a miserable parent, or you're feeling miserable for one reason or another, your child's happiness, it might be a tendency to rain on their parade because you're miserable, and you're like, let's be miserable together. In that case, it's not even safe to feel happy in a home like that. Children that live in that kind of situation might tend to hide the fact that something makes them happy, because they know that they're going to get like a Debbie Downer, rain cloud over their head. And so they might not share things that make them feel happy with the person or the people who don't embrace it or don't appreciate it. So happy is actually not an easy one. I started to say at first that that's an easy one. Everyone loves it when you're happy, and so then of course everyone embraces it. But when I'm thinking about it, that's not the case. And so, is it safe for your child to feel happy? So what would that look like? It's when your child is happy, you celebrate with them, right? Yeah, I'm so happy too. Like, that's so great. Or look at you. I love how you're smiling about that. You're glowing about that. That made you feel really happy. That's so cool. I'm glad that happened for you. I'm glad that experience happened for you, right? That's how we can show them that we are appreciating their happiness, or that we are happy that they're happy. We're pleased that they're happy. Sadness, right? Now, sometimes people call sadness and afraid and all of that negative emotions. I tend to steer away from labeling it as negative or positive. Sadness, it's not a feeling that people tend to like to have, of course. But sometimes out of sadness, different things are birthed, different epiphanies and discoveries happen. Sometimes in your sadness and in your tears, something good comes of it afterwards. And so I tend to just call emotions, right? Not negative, not positive. They're just emotions. And so sadness, is it safe for your child to feel sad? When they're feeling sad, are you giving them the space to just take your moment, do what you need to do, cry it out, sure, go for it? Like, do you tell other people, please leave him or her alone a moment? They're having they're dealing with something, That's how you can help to create a space where your child feels okay with being sad, right? The opposite of that would be to, tell your child something as, be as blunt as saying, get over it. Like, it is what it is. Life, does that. That's how life is. Just whatever. It is what it is. Get over yourself. Get over it. Right? In that case, it's not safe to feel sad because you're not allowing them to work through it. Or the other side of it could be, your child is sad and you're trying to throw things in their face to get them happy, to cheer up. Come on, let's go. Yeah, celebrate, sing, do whatever, and trying to get them to get out of that sadness quickly, right? And sometimes that happens with parents because their sadness makes you feel some kind of way that you might not be ready to deal with, that you don't want to see, or it might make you feel uncomfortable, and so you don't want them to feel sad. But once again, it's an emotion that people go through, and it's okay. Emotions are okay. It really becomes just a situation of how long are they staying in it, how frequently is it happening. Yes, then those things can be cause for concern, but to have it happen on a balanced and regular, scale, like their happiness, and sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're frightened, and sometimes they're brave. As long as those things are happening with a healthy balance, then it's not a cause for concern, Now, I'm not a doctor. Somebody could be watching and being like, listen, that is a cause for concern. I would say, in my experience, in my 20 years of doing this with young children, having a balance of those emotions and allowing a space for a balance of those emotions is a very healthy thing. confusion. So this, at first when I was preparing for this broadcast, I was like, do I throw confused in here as an emotion? It is, right? And I have a 12-year-old. One of my 3 children is 12. And at times, I feel like he's really confused about a lot of things. And I remember when I was growing up, my brother, who's also who's younger than I am, I remember at around the age of like 8, 9, he was real confused about stuff too. And I get confused about things, trust me, all the time. Like, I get confused about things just like we all do. But I remember reactions to my brother's confusion sometimes when he'd do things and it kind of be like, wait, wait, what? Sometimes he'd get a reaction like, duh, like, you know, or hello. And, you know, with my 12-year-old, I sometimes feel the gut reaction to be able to say that, or my first instinct is to be able to be like, what? Like, I don't get it, you know? But I'm very, very cautious about that. There are things that sometimes we think our children should know that they don't know. Just like the same time as sometimes when we think that they don't know something, they do know it, right? And so I have to, this is something that I tell myself to be very careful of. Watch my facial expressions when my son, when all my children, but especially my 12-year-old, because he tends to live in a place of confusion at times. But I have to be very, very careful to not make his confusion, portray it as, you know, by my expression, make it seem like he's slow, he's not all there, or, you know, belittling him by saying, why don't you know that? Like, I don't get why you don't know that, you know? Because when you do that, there's a tendency, once again, for them to not want to, for them to not share as much of when they have these moments of confusion. And for me, it's really important that I understand when he's confused about things so that I can help to enlighten him or to give him some information about what he's confused about. I'd much rather him be able to feel open about being confused about something, and then us sitting down and having a conversation, albeit brief or a long conversation, for clarity, than him to be confused, feel ashamed to ask me because he thinks he's going to get ridiculed, and then him either seek the answer elsewhere where he'll get misinformation, or that he'll never seek the information because he's afraid that everyone is going to give him that same kind of reaction for his confusion. So I'd rather create the space for him to be able to ask me. And yeah, listen, sometimes I answer him and then I walk in the room and I'm like, what? Okay. But to myself, and you know, and then we move on. Another emotion is fear, like afraid, feeling fearful about something. Once again, no, fear is not one of those things that we want our children to have. You know, I struggle with my own levels of fear that I'm every day trying to power through. And it's because we know that fear holds us back from certain things that we want to do in life and that we want to experience and things. And we don't want our children to be held back from that. Sometimes that's why you don't want your children to be fearful. Sometimes people don't want their children to feel fearful or to feel fearful because they feel like it's a sign of weakness. And so it's like, nah, do it. Just go for it. Be brave. You know, confront it. Look it dead in the eyes and go for it and do it. Once again, it's all about balance, right? So while it's great to give some of those encouraging words, there are things that children, people, period, but of course we're talking about children right now, are genuinely afraid of. And so when I create a space for my child to be fearful, it is saying, I get it. You know, I understand why the dark frightens you. I understand why, for my oldest son, he's not watching this, But for my oldest son, he is afraid of like stray animals, and like we in our neighborhood we have like a lot of raccoons and stuff, and we have like stray cats sometimes that'll be like in our yard and stuff, and he especially at night is really afraid of them. So if I have to send him to the store, if myself or my husband we have to send him to the store, he'll like look outside, and he's 15, and he'll be like, the raccoons are out, like chill, I don't want to go to the store. And you know, there was a moment that we did not make it a safe space for him. I would be the first to admit and be like, go outside, like what are they gonna do to you? You're good. But he is genuinely afraid. And so rather than making fun of him or mocking him about it, like I understand he's afraid because he doesn't know what they're gonna do. He doesn't like the unpredictability of hey, he doesn't like the unpredictability of raccoons and stray cats and stuff, and he's just like, chill. You know, that's his way of, that's how we know that he's scared, because he's like, chill, I'm not going out there or whatever. But he's afraid, and I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm not afraid of raccoons, but my fears don't have to be his fears, and it's okay, you know. And then yes, there are more serious things that our children are afraid of, you know, bullies, and you know, and thank God I'm not speaking about, you know, my children that I know of, but children are afraid of bullies, and sometimes parents who just push them into the, you know, like, nah, go confront it, go do it, go deal with it. Like, if they don't know how to, if they've not been given the tools to deal with it, that doesn't make the fear go away. And so what do we have to do? We have to become more empathetic. We have to really have those conversations about what makes you afraid of that, or this person, or, you know, this thing. What, you know, what can we do? Like, what can we do about it? How can we empower you through this? Or how can we help you through this? So leaving a space for fear to be spoken through and worked through in your home. Being sensitive. So in my experience, I've really seen a lot of this happen when there are sons involved, when there are boys involved, where there's not a safe space for them to feel sensitive, to be emotional, period, right? It's brave and happy. Those are the only emotions that you're supposed to have as a guy, right? That sometimes happens. But sensitivity and being, you know, having certain things pull on your, you know, tug on your heartstrings that might make you shed a tear or make you feel emotional. That's a part of a human emotion. And for me and in our home, that's not a gender specific thing, right? It's a family of 5. We're a family of 5. We have myself and my daughter are the 2 women in the house, or the 2 females in the house, and then my husband and my 2 sons are the, you know, the guys in the house. And having things that make us feel emotional, in the fact that, you know, that's a sensitive topic or sensitive area for us, each and every one of us has a thing that can trigger a certain emotion like that, you know, or things that can trigger a certain emotion like that. And that is okay, because in that we have conversations, we talk about it a little bit, and it just gives me a broader understanding of who they are. I love to know that my boys are sensitive about certain things. It makes me know that their hearts are working. You know, it makes me know that there's compassion in a place. So, you know, that they have compassion within them. And then the last emotion that I'm going to talk about, and this is actually why I chose this topic, is the emotion of anger. And recently I had something happen between myself and my son, one of my sons, where he became really angry. He was really angry about something. And it was something that I did, actually. I'll say that. It was something that I did, that in hindsight I was like, I probably should have done that differently. But he totally responded to what I did in a lot of anger. And the way he expressed his anger, like he said words that, like he said, I feel, and he blew up about something. He was just like, I feel like, being violent, basically. He said, I feel like doing something very violent. And he didn't do it, but he told me that's how he felt. And he did it through tears, and his face was like so red, and he was really emotional about it. And I got some feedback from a family member that was like, he shouldn't be able to do that. He should not be able to say that. He shouldn't be able to even think like that. And it took me a while to think through this, because I was just like, he said he felt like doing something violent. He didn't do it, and we had a conversation after the fact, he and I, about getting that emotional or that angry about it. And I actually had to apologize for what I did first, because I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, or I shouldn't have done. And I think about anger, and I think about the fact that that is an emotion. I get angry probably daily. Like, there are things that get me upset. I can say upset, not like angry, but I can get like upset daily about things. And it's little crap sometimes. Shoot, depending on what time of the month it is, I can get angry multiple times a day. And I do bring myself back like, okay, maybe that shouldn't have upset you, or you shouldn't allow that to upset you to that point. But I have an ability to self-regulate. My husband is on here watching, and he probably would say I haven't self-regulated enough. But I would beg to differ. I think that I've worked on it a lot. And so I have the ability to self-regulate. Right? So when I'm feeling angry, I go through a range of things, right? Sometimes I feel like throwing things. Sometimes I do throw things. And then I cry it out, and then I breathe it out, and then sometimes I sleep it out, and then I wake up and I'm just like, I have to apologize it out. And these are the things that I go through, right? Depending on what it is that upsets me. But for a 12-year-old, and for my 4-year-old, and sometimes for my 15-year-old, who may not be there in a place where they can recognize, all right, I need to maybe go take a walk. Like, this ticked me off so much. I need to go like walk and blow off some steam so I don't blow up at somebody. Let me go do this. Instead, they deal with their anger right there and then in the moment. And for me, that is okay, right? We have boundaries. There are things that are off limit, like, you're not gonna hit me, like my child. Like, you're not gonna hit me. You're not going to curse at me. You're not going to, threaten me in the sense of, I am gonna do this. However, if you like, I feel so angry, listen, feel so angry then. Feel so angry that you might want to do such and such, because that's a feeling. You didn't just tell me I am going to do this, right? You tell me I am going to do this. Well, that's a problem. If you tell me, yes, I am going to do this, that's a problem. And that's my phone messing with my, okay. That's different. But for me, I'm like, if I'm gonna leave space for emotions, then I have to recognize that anger is an emotion. And to slap a child down to the ground because they blow up, because they puff out their chest because they're angry, because they storm off, and because I'm the authority figure to say, what, are you crazy? And, tell my husband, slap him to the ground, or come deal with your child, or, I'm punch you in your mouth, and these are things that I've heard, these are things that I've heard from parents. These are things that I've witnessed firsthand because a child is feeling this emotion and they are trying to get it out. Anger, to me, honestly, is the most important emotion to leave space for. And that's because bottled up anger can be catastrophic. It can be explosive. It can be dangerous. And so if I am dealing with a person, or specifically my child, who is angry about stuff, who shows anger about things, I need to get down to the root of what makes you so angry. Why is that making you so angry? And that might mean that I might have to do things differently, right? And respond to you differently because I'm showing respect for what I know makes you feel that way. Respect is recognizing who your children are and figuring out how can I work with you so that we could do this thing peacefully, right? We got to share the same household for many, many years. Who knows how long? And so I'm not about conform to me because I am this. That's not the life that we're living. And for me, it's about creating a safe space so that people can be who they are and feel heard and feel respected, and not have to bend themselves constantly just because of my husband and myself being the head of the house. Out there, happy Father's Day. I hope this helps someone. As always, if you want to send me an email and we can talk privately, I can be reached at earlychildhood@sweetpeame.com, earlychildhood@sweetpeame.com. Thank you all. Be inspired. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be blessed. Take care. Bye-bye.